I wanted to measure your success as an employee, what matters most. Welcome to this week's Live. Now, last year we made a lot of content, but this year we're going live every single week.
We go live every single week?
Yeah, dude, that's what we need to do to dominate this industry. Guys, follow us on every social platform, subscribe on YouTube. Now let's get into this week's episode and head into the studio. What's up, guys? I'm Kyle Mylan, and we are back with another week of content. And for those of you that are following our content, know that every week we go live, and every week it's a different subject. Sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's sales, and sometimes I have the pleasure of bringing in a teammate onto this. I've got Cristian Ventura here.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So Cristian is our digital marketing manager, our marketing manager. Cristian, why are you in this seat today? What is your background?
Well, I've been working in marketing for over 10 years now. If I go back to when I started working, I was fascinated by websites like Nike.com, and I was curious to figure out how things worked and how do they put things in an email and then they go to a website, and how do people purchase things online. And in working and learning, I was self-taught in marketing, learned from many great people that do online marketing. And all of that curiosity just boiled into becoming a career for me. So yeah, basically that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and so Cristian's been with us for what now, 16 months?
Yeah, close to 16.
Yeah, close to 16 months. Cristian is in charge of web, SEO, paid media, marketing automation, CRM, and list building. So basically like half of the verticals that we do all report to Cristian because he is the most knowledgeable. Fun fact about Cristian is we've just talked about this with that client. You're going to school for what originally?
Yeah, originally I went to school for drafting, so CAD drafting, basically drawing floor plans for houses or equipment, parts. So that's what I went to school for a year and a half. Yeah.
And then he realized that sucks, and marketing's way more fun. So then he said, you know what, I'm just going to get into marketing. Originally from...
born in Dominican Republic, raised in Puerto Rico, and now live here in Austin, Texas.
For the last, 6 years?
6 years.
6 years. 6 years in Austin, and he loves every minute of it. So today, coincidentally, we're here to talk about strategy, right, Justin? That's the topic. Talking about creating strategies. And the funny thing is, Cristian and I just walked in here 2 minutes ago after we got out of a meeting, and I was like, what's the topic? And they said strategy. I was like, perfect, because we're in the thick of it. Finishing out the 2025 strategy, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball with completing all of it for all of our clients, but I'm in charge of creating the strategy and laying out the foundation of what's the goal for each of our clients. Almost done with it, but we're in the thick of it right now, so it's a pretty fitting topic.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
So I have a question for you, Kyle, actually.
All right, let's go. Let's get into these questions.
So what does winning an NFL championship, winning a war, and winning at marketing have in common?
Well, number one, they're all winning.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Number two, you need to have a plan.
Yep.
You got to have a team, and you have to have a strategy.
That's right. Nobody showed up, last minute.
Yeah.
Do it and won. So
Yeah, I mean, if they did, then we're not reading about them in the
Right.
in the history books, right? That was probably a fluke win at that, but that's a good segue into it. Is that you have to have that plan, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've even dealt with times internally here where we go down the path of, all right, maybe Cristian and I know what the plan is, but it's not fully documented, and the team's like, wait, what's the plan? And we're like, oh, just do it like this. Like it's in our head, but it's not out there. I guess that's the importance of that strategy, right?
yeah, I mean, looking at everything from a macro, right? Going back, zooming out, and then laying out the plan for the team to follow. And it's not going to be set in stone, right? You could shift a little bit depending on what happens in the field, if we want to call it that way. But going with a plan in place and everyone knowing what their position is, and what they have to do to execute to win, I think it's the best way possible to go at it.
Yeah, so if we go down the structure of like the way that we do it, the number one is gonna. Why is this thing? Uh-oh. I grabbed the wrong pencil. Hang on. Grab this pencil. So number one is, let's say, where are you at? Then number two is going to be, where do you want to be? I mean, it's kind of like goal setting too, right? Like if I was going to set a goal, where do you want it? Where are you at? Where do you want to be? And then the third one's going to be the how. So to go back to your analogy, if you're looking at like a team, like where are you at? We're at this place. And where do you want to be? Well, obviously we want to be number one. And how are you going to get there? And that's where the strategy comes in, of like the execution of the goal or the dream. But I feel like most people don't know where they're at. Right?
Yeah.
What have you experienced in that?
Yeah. First of all, like lack of data, right? They don't know. For example, if you go to our website, they don't know how many people are visiting, what pages people are visiting,
Yep.
where are they dropping off, are the forms working, is everything set for success on the website? So if we begin at that step number one, the lack of data, also not having a CRM, for example, you
Yep.
don't know how many leads are coming in, how many are failing to be followed up. So data would be like the one main thing to know where you're at.
Yeah, so let me jot these down. So we're going to say data, number one. Let's see if that refines it. Look at that.
Yeah.
It goes from my chicken scratch to something fancy.
Beautiful.
So we're going to start with data. Where are you at? I feel like you've got to be real with yourself, right? Because some people are like, oh, I'm here, but you're really not. The data should make you come to your reality of like, you're not there, dude.
Right.
Right. So where are you at? What other things should you focus on from a marketing standpoint with where are you at? Like what other things should you look at that are inside of data? You said website.
Yeah,
visitors?
like website traffic, right?
So we can say web traffic,
Let's call it website health, right? Is everything working on the website?
web health. Yep. We just dealt with that. One of our clients said, hey, potential client was going and they were looking for something and they couldn't find it. And then I went in and looked for it and I couldn't find it. We didn't build the site, but we're doing all of their marketing for them. And it's like, all right, we need to go through and look at, the client's going to go through and look at all of the different areas of their website that they don't love. And then we're going to put together the plan of how can we execute those as we go versus saying like, let's just do it all at once. We're just going to bite off pieces of it as we go. So web health, that's a great one. What else is under that?
I would say also like visitors' behavior, right? When people are on your website, what are they doing, right? Do we know even how they're navigating? So, for example, we had a landing page that people thought they had a button because it looks like a button, but it's not.
Yeah.
So we installed a tool to gauge that, and then we see if they are clicking on it, and if they click on it for more than X amount of times in a second or 2 seconds, it classifies that as a rage click.
Oh, yeah.
People
yeah.
are not happy with that button. That's, it's not a button.
Yeah.
So things like that tell you where you are, what things to fix.
Yeah, and that brings up a point is that when it comes to creating the strategy, you can I could fill this room up with 6 people and we can all be like, all right, we agree this strategy is going to work. And then you go and execute that strategy and it doesn't work the way you expected, to where you have to always go back to that data aspect, right? And say like, what is the data showing us? We thought, and it's just a theory, we think that this is going to work and it's based on data that makes us think that, but when you go and execute it, it may not work the same.
Right.
And so if it doesn't work the same, you have to be able to say, you know what, I'm agnostic to the method that we're going to go about getting the goals that we want, right? Growth, brand lift and awareness, more leads, more money, etc. I don't care how we get there. I just know we want to get there. I think that this is going to take us there, but then you put in tools and it's like, yeah, but when you look at what you thought the user would engage with or how you thought they would behave, and you look at the tools and it's like they don't engage like that at all. That stuff happens like all the time, right? Yeah. So visitor behavior, what else? Is there anything else under like the where you at assessment?
I guess also your capacity, right? Your capabilities.
Okay.
Can you really take on more, and who are you taking in, right, as clients?
Yep.
Do you have the majority of your clients are they ideal clients, and what is your ideal client?
Yep.
Right? That would be helpful to know if you are doing busy work with clients that are not worth it.
Yep.
And then maybe how do we get the clients that are worth it?
Yep, and we just touched on this. All this stuff comes full circle. So ICP, your ideal customer profile, setting that and saying this is what we want to go after. We know that if we're going to go after this, there could be some possible growing pains in the interim, right? So we've got clients. We were just on a call yesterday with a client, and they want to go after these specific 4 industries, and these 4 industries they want to be this high percentage of their total revenue. Now, they don't want to necessarily circumvent loss of revenue with other industries if they're only focusing on those 4. No different than us. If we say this is our ideal customer profile, ideally, we don't want to say, well, we'll take it for now because we need the revenue, want the revenue, need the growth. We would say, no, we're not going to take it. And that could come with got to downsize, got to cut back, can't do those things, budget decreases, et cetera, because we don't have the revenue to be able to do those things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, looking at your capacity and capabilities, I am the one in the office that's like, we could do everything and we can all do it all in 30 days.
Yeah.
And then Cristian comes in and is like,
maybe we don't. Maybe we scale it back a little bit.
Maybe we scale it back. And he tries to bring me back down. And then we've got Ann, my wife, who brings me back down using choice words that Cristian can't say to be able to bring it back down and be like, no, we can't do that. We can't solve all the problems at once, and we can't grow to this capacity, and we can't go after these types of things. So it's being real with your capacity or capabilities. So if we look at number 2, let's see. So number 2 is, so first it's where are you at, and then it's where do you want to go? Where to go? So when you're developing the strategy and you're looking at where do you want to go, what are some things that you think can help with figuring that out?
Yeah, I mean, it helps to know revenue-wise, right? Where do you want to go? And then a time frame, right, for that? Is it a year? Is it 6 months?
Okay.
When do we want to achieve this goal, right?
Yep.
It's helpful to know the time frame because depending on the time frame, right, you either have to put more resources, hit the accelerator faster, right, to get there faster.
Yep.
And you have to have the budget for it, obviously.
Yeah, so if you have a revenue goal of 10% growth, 20% growth, 50 million, 500 million, what is the time frame realistic that you want to hit it? So that way you're not going into the action portion and trying to shove everything into a short time frame, right?
Yeah.
So be smart about your time frame with your revenue goal. You can be aggressive and you can say I want to hit the moon, but be realistic with it. Like, is it achievable? Do you want to achieve that realistically in 12 months? We've dealt with this with clients where they want to go from X amount of revenue to basically double in a couple of years, 5 years, et cetera. And it's like, okay, so step 1, do you have the capacity to be able to handle that? Nope, we don't currently have the capacity. Do you have a plan to do something to your facility, your infrastructure, your team to be able to reach the capacity or have it available to hit that? Yes, we have a plan in place. These are steps we're taking. Okay, so if we then scale that back and say at each milestone of that, we're going to hit these goals, then in theory, you should be able to execute on it. So besides rev goal and time frame, what else do we want to focus on?
Yeah, also defining success, right? For some clients, booking meetings is what they want. That's the number they want to focus on, right? 10, 12 per month. With that, we can make the rest happen.
Yeah.
Others are deal amounts, right? We just want to get deals that are, 500K or plus, and that's a success for them. So defining success is huge because that way you know what to target for, right? What to go for, and if you see it, then you'll know you've achieved it, right? But if the target is too broad, if you don't really know,
Yep.
if you're just like, oh, I just want to grow, and then it's hard to gauge, if you're doing it right, if you're achieving or doing the right things.
Yep. Yeah. So it goes to that phrase, if it's not measured, it's not managed, and you have to be able to measure it and you have to have a target, right?
Right.
And so we do that as an EOS company where we have weekly scorecards with the team. So Cristian's accountable every week in the leadership meeting to come with these certain metrics, and we know what the goal is, and then he reports what was last week's number to that goal. And then you can see, like, are you reaching it? Are you consistently week over week reaching that goal? Should we change the goal? But you put goals in there to be able to say, like, how do I define success in this area? And you guys should do the same. when you look at your marketing, what is the purpose of it for the rest of 2025? You've got 10 months left or 9.5 months left, 10.5 months left. What is the purpose of it? What's your one goal? What are 3 goals that you're trying to get? Is it meeting books? Is it deals? Is it revenue? Is it industry penetration? Right? You want to go after a new industry. You want to go after a new market segment. Like, what is that thing that you're trying to go after? And set it in the beginning. And then when you get to the action portion, you're going to say, I'm going to do all these things to achieve it. But if you're not measuring it weekly, you couldn't possibly be successful.
Exactly. And we do have one question here from the audience.
What do we got?
A guy named Alexander Brown.
Alexander Brown. I wonder who that is. Throw it up on the screen, Justin.
So he says, what is the most difficult roadblock you come across when presenting a marketing strategy to a non-marketing or sales-minded decision maker? What would you say, Kyle?
What is the biggest roadblock? So you can't sell the unsellable. And if I'm presenting a strategy to somebody and they're like, they're either one of two thoughts. Either they're going to buy what you're telling them, like hook, line, and sinker, and say, yep, you're the expert. I trust that you know what you're doing. Or they're going to say, you don't know the market, or I don't need these things. So I feel like if we're at the point, there's 2 aspects there, and Alex probably deals with this, which is why he's asking the question. If they are in the discovery process with us and they're just talking to us and they're like, hey, these are the issues we have. And our sales team goes through a very strict process of like understanding how do they define success? What does it look like to you? What are you currently doing? What do you want to happen? And then we figure out how are we going to help them achieve those goals. If they're not bought in on marketing, being able to assist them with that, I personally don't want to spend a ton of time with those people. Because if I have to convince you that you need marketing, and then every month the team is going to then have to convince them that they need marketing and why what we're doing is working, and the person's not bought in. I would much rather deal with somebody that says, look, I want to grow and I want to increase my revenue by this much or increase these aspects. And I know marketing can do it. You tell me what you think should happen to get us there. And then based on that, I'm going to look every month and see, are we going towards the right direction or not? But that's the worst situation is to try and sell to somebody that doesn't care. Or sometimes we deal with it with ownership, right? The salesperson, the marketing person talks to us and they're like, dude, I want marketing, I need marketing, etc. But the boss is like, I don't think you need it. I'm going to reduce the budget. That's a tough spot to be in. And the only way to overcome it is either give it time and talk to the owner. And maybe it could be a person of authority. So like bring in somebody like Christian. So if the sales team brings in Christian's like, here's how we're going to set up the strategy. Here's why it's going to work. Here's what we've seen. That could help. But I prefer to not sell to the unsellable personally.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
One thing that I've noticed also that's a roadblock is trying to change the mindset from going to fluff numbers to like high numbers to the real numbers that we want to focus on, right? And sometimes they don't understand the basics of what impressions are versus clicks.
Yeah.
And that's our job, right? To get them to the real numbers, like the deals, the amount, the revenue, the meetings booked. And sometimes it's hard to present that it's also a numbers game, right? So we need volume, whatever it is we're doing, obviously, right? If we're doing Google ads, you need tons of impressions, tons of clicks to then get conversions, which is the number where we want to get.
Right.
When we're looking at emails, yes, you need to send out thousands of emails to get opens and then to get clicks, and the number keeps going down until you get replies and meetings booked.
Yeah.
So trying to get that across in a way that people see it clearly, it's a challenge, but it's definitely doable, and that's why we have different ways of presenting the tactics, right, and the strategies that we do. So.
Yeah, exactly. So like what Christian's saying, if we were to break it down, you've got what's your goal? Is it to increase rev or money? Is it to increase the number of leads? Is it increase the number of meetings? Like, what's the ultimate goal? And with that goal, I should be able to create a couple of KPIs that I'm tracking that say, if these numbers go in the direction I want them to go into, which is typically up unless it's average SEO positions, then it's down. But if they all go in the direction I want them to go into, then how I got there really doesn't matter. You've got the supporting data, like Christian's saying. You got sessions, you got email sent, you got opens, you got all that. But all that really matters is replies to emails, booked meetings. conversions on lead or conversions on Google Ads is great, but if it doesn't convert into a meeting that then converts into a deal, which then converts into a customer, then I don't really care about it, right? Then it's just like wasting time. So everything has to go back to a couple of metrics. And if you set that in the beginning, which that's something that we've struggled with, is like we didn't ask the specific questions. And if you're not setting expectations and you can't manage the expectations, if the client thinks, well, we should be doing this, and like we're supposed to be zigging and we're zagging, then you're going to have like a disconnect with what are we doing and how are we getting there. If they're not patient enough, they're going to be like, this isn't working. Well, dude, but we told you in the beginning it's going to take us 3 months to get this ball going. So you have to set the expectations early and understand, define success, like Christian said, and then set those KPIs. And then how we get there shouldn't really matter, but we're going to report on it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we look at, you define where do you want to go, then the third thing is going to be, how do we get there? So what's the how? What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, how, the nitty gritty, right?
The fun part.
What platforms are we going to use?
Yeah,
right?
so your tech stack, so the platforms.
Definitely, how do we optimize your website? How do we optimize it for conversions?
Yep.
How do we make it better? How do we make the forms better? How do we make the experience better for whoever is your prospect, whoever you're targeting? Are we asking the right questions to get them to come in and book that meeting or fill out that form that will eventually turn into a deal?
Yep.
If it's email marketing, how many emails are we going to send? Who are we going to send it to? Very important, right? The list, the audience.
Yep. List building.
And then what's the value that we're providing to them? So basically, what's going to be in that copy of that email?
Yep.
Are we going to hit specific people that work at a company, depending on their job title? Are we just going after the C-suite? So what are they looking after, right? They're probably looking at bigger goals, bigger picture, revenue.
Yep.
If it's a manager or if it's a position of kind of like logistics, so they're more in tune with the day-to-day. So they're probably looking at processes, what's broken, and how can your product, help them. So all of that comes into the how on that part of email marketing, for example.
Yeah.
Are we going to do ads on Google? Are we going to do retargeting ads? Are we going to do other types of advertising, paid ads, paid media? So basically, it goes down to how are we going to do it, on what platform, what are we going to say, what are we going to present, what's going to be the images that we're going to put in, the videos that we're going to publish for them. So
yeah, so if you look at each vertical, whether it's email, paid ad, social, whatever, you've got, if you just break it down to the same type of processes, you have to put something in front of them that's going to get them to click and go deeper. Mm-hmm. Then once they get there, wherever it is, it's going to be either a landing page or a web page of yours. Once they get there, what are you doing to optimize it for them to go to the next step? And what does that process flow look like? So if we're doing email marketing, we have to first build a good list of people, which is either based on industry and job function and geographic location, et cetera. Then we have to have good copy we have to have it on a good platform, right? That's something that people often are like, oh no, I can just do it through Constant Contact or MailChimp or something like that. You have to have a good platform like HubSpot or like other ones. We don't like a ton of other ones, but like Apollo is a good solution. But things like Zoho that we've dealt with, Marketo, Pardot, Dynamics 365, like all those systems, can they do what you need them to do? Yes. Are you going to have more success with other systems? Absolutely. So you put them in the platform, you write copy for email. It has to be enticing. There's got to be something for them to click to go somewhere because you want an action, right? Because then you can say, those people that clicked, I want to maybe market to them a little bit different, or I can at least tag them and say, these people clicked, I can put them in another funnel. And then from there, they go to the site, and then the site takes over, and you have to make sure that works. No different than with paid media. You put something in front of them, whether it's an image or words, or they search, they click, go to the site, optimize for conversion. So you've got some CRO going on. Then once they get into your funnel from there, you pass it off to the sales team. Hopefully the sales team is good and they can move it on down. But if you go all the way to the end and say, so all you're doing is basically generating leads or opportunities, leads that then turn into opportunities. But what's the quality of those leads? Because if Christian brings me 50 leads in a month, but the quality sucks,
not doing my job.
then I'm gonna be like, dude, what are you doing? You're bringing us, you're keeping me busy. I'm having conversations, but it's with the wrong people. Then Christian's gonna go back to the strategy of that aspect and say, what do I need to adjust and tweak here to get higher quality people? And then you do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Make adjustments, refine it, put it out there, see if it works. I mean, it seems simplistic, and the how is like the action portion, right? But if you just break it into each vertical, marketing vertical, with web, what are we going to do? How are we going to get more people to convert? Let's look at the website. Top visited pages, top landed on pages, pages that are industry specific. What pages do we need to create? Work it through the process of once they get there, what do you want them to do? Is there calls to action? Is there easy to fill out a form? Is there downloadable content? But if you break into each vertical and the how and just walk through that process, you should be relatively successful. But I feel like where people have that disconnect is they keep doing the same thing, and then they're like, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. Well, it may not work for 3 months in a row or 4 months, but then it's going to pop. Or maybe it doesn't work for 12 months. Well, then you need to change something. And you can make micro adjustments monthly, but you don't want them to be massive. Like we've seen people do that, right, with paid ads.
Yeah. You shouldn't be making changes, on a weekly basis to Google Ads because it's on a learning period every time you make a change. It resets. And then in line with that, I've seen success right in the time. Tim Drinkwater, which is our friend.
Our friend Tim. Tim's back.
He has a great question, and it's good because Tim is a business owner, right? So he says many variables, of course, but how do you manage the lag between implementation and results to the goal metric?
So you manage the lag with a humble bite of patience, possibly some alcohol. I mean, it depends on whatever your device is, but you should go into it expecting, like, in my opinion, nothing's going to happen within 90 days, realistically. If I go into it and say, I'm going to give this 90 days, I should see some light at the end of the tunnel, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it all depends also like on what you're selling, what's your sales cycle, right?
Yeah.
Are you looking to start and close deals right away, in 1 month, or is it more of a 6 month, a 9 month,
Yeah.
a 12 month? So success is going to look very differently depending on what you're selling. But yeah, it takes time. Like anything, you need time for the platforms to learn what you're doing, be it a paid ad platform, or if it's even organically, right? Platforms are changing all the time, so you need to give it some time, and then we need to make adjustments to find the right fit. So that's why patience is definitely key, and also maybe taking into account that from the beginning, and when you're doing the investment, let's say if you go with an agency and you're going to pay them X amount of money, just make sure that it's clear from the beginning that amount of money, that investment, right, has to, it will take time for you to see an ROI on that investment. And both parties should be clear on that. And that should be part of the conversation.
Yeah, like you go into it saying, like, this is a 12-month deal. I'm not expecting anything crazy within 12 months, but I'm expecting these metrics, these milestones, and we're going to track these KPIs. So if you start something new, like if Tim's starting something new, you should see little hints or indications, right? So if let's just say you start doing email marketing for the first time, you should start with maybe a bad open rate, and the open rate should start to increase incrementally, and then you get a few clicks, and then eventually once you get X amount of clicks, then some of those clicks turn into leads, the leads turn into deals. But you got to give it at least 90 days to get started, especially with new things. Paid ads, you could possibly get some quick wins within the first 30 days. But if you're brand new to it, new ad platform, new ad account, like Google's not going to be like, yes, sir, I want to put you at the top spot, even if you're willing to spend the most amount of money. I'm just going to put you at the top. There's so many factors that go into it, right? Like the trust score that Google has with you. Is your page optimized where you're sending them to? Is everything else optimized with the account? How much money have you spent with them? They're not just going to send you straight to the top because you're willing to spend some money. But yeah, I would say 90 days is a starting point. After 6 months, you can tell if something's working or not, and whether or not you should massively pivot. I feel like, unless it's something like SEO. SEO is different. SEO, it could take 90 days for Google even to recrawl you and respect it, and then from there you got to give it some more time.
Yep, exactly. So Chad there says good stuff, guys. Spot on. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that.
I like Justin. I like having Christian here to just like talk about the comments live, right? And just throw it up there. Yeah, it's just flowing. We don't even have to take a break. We're just gonna go right through it. But yeah, guys, we appreciate those questions. You got to give everything time when it comes to a strategy. You got to make sure that you're allowing it the runway it needs to perform, but at the same time being the opposite and being super critical of it, and like just waiting for a moment to be like, I'm gonna change now. But it's like that balance of doing it too fast or too slow.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel like you learn that over time. Like we've been doing this for a long time, so we know the triggers and we know at what point is it going to be like, this is probably not working. We should pivot. You guys may not know that. You should rely on an agency like us or somebody else out there that can give you that guidance. But go into it with expectations. So like if you start a partnership with somebody, understand from the get-go, all right, what should I expect here? Should I expect this to take 12 months? Yeah, okay, I'm in it for the long haul, 12 months. If I don't get it in 12 months, incremental growth or whatever the KPIs are, I'll readjust at that point. We've had clients come in like 90 days in, they're like, nope, it's not working exactly how I want it, so I'm out. And it's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Missed that red flag when we were doing discovery and onboarding calls, but hey, best of luck to you. Go find another agency that'll do it in 90 days. Any other questions come through? Questions or comments that we want to throw up on the screen?
No, not right now.
Not right now. That is all we got. What else do we want to add about strategy?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about pivoting, right?
Okay.
I know you mentioned it. So, if something's not working, right, how should we go about pivoting a strategy or a tactic within a strategy? What do you think?
How should we go about pivoting? I feel like you have to first, if it's a solid strategy, so like if we create a strategy and we're like, dude, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. And we see it and it's like, should we pivot or not? I have to first set what type of timeline and path am I willing to go down. So I've already established that. I've said I'm going to give this thing 60 days or 90 days, and I should see these things happen. And if I don't see these things happen, then we're going to make an adjustment. And it could be as simple as like having a group of people in a room and having a conversation. I'll be like, hey, this isn't working. What do you guys think? And everybody just getting creative. Or you could look at what are the variables to it? Because I feel like if you go back to the variables of why it's not working, then you can start to make pivots to each variable. So it's like a science experiment, right? Mm-hmm. If you've got an ad, you've got the copy, you've got the keywords, you got the negative keywords, you got the bidding strategy, you got the landing page, you got all these aspects. Let's start to adjust one at a time and then measure the results of that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Making incremental changes, it's better, right? Obviously, there's a time issue, right? Obviously, business owners, they want to see results immediately. But if you think about the long run, right, in the long run, long term, most or some of these strategies, they will have an impact for the lifetime of your business. Like, let's say you make a change on a website, and we can talk, about the homepage or a landing page specific to a topic. When you make that change, and if it's a positive change, it'll stay there forever, for as long as it is, and you don't change it anymore. So some of the changes are going to have a long-lasting impact. That's why it's good to think about it real well and strategize about what's the pivot that we're executing, and then think about how it's going to impact your business in the long term. Same thing, with email marketing. Email marketing does not work the same as it used to work, 5-10 years ago.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I wish it did.
There's a lot of email filtering going on, especially if you're sending to a group of persons for the first time. So you need to know the actual technology behind it, right? Who's blocking? What are they blocking? What are they looking at? What can we do to avoid those email blockers? So all of these pivots, right, they're going to take time and testing to adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're never going to get it perfect, right?
Yep.
I'm just going to write down that. Man, I'm just like chicken scratch. I'm going to write down variables. So you got to look at those variables. But test it. You're going to probably get it wrong. The strategy may not have been perfect, but who cares? You're doing something. Something's better than nothing. You're going down the right path. Make those adjustments. You might get it wrong again. Just go into it knowing that you have to have those attempts. Like nothing great ever came from just doing it once, right? You got to keep on doing it, making adjustment, perfecting it. And once you see something work, that doesn't mean just leave it. It's like, can I make it work better? So maybe make another micro adjustment to one of the variables to see, can you increase that, right? So what you're basically trying to do is reach this bell curve, and you want to reach the top of the bell curve before you fall off. That's the ultimate goal. Whether it's the ROI on ad spend, I'm getting a 20x multiplier, 10x multiplier. I know that as I spend this much money, the amount of leads as my money goes up, the amount of leads that I get goes up too, until you reach the backside of that bell curve, and you're spending more money along, and the time is at the bottom. You're spending more money, but you're not getting the same amount of leads, right? And your cost per lead increases, and so on and so forth. So you're trying to find the bell curve in any sort of marketing program and strategy, but it's like you could either get there super fast or you get there incremental and slowly. I personally think that I would rather climb up to it, so that way I know when that tipping point is that I fell off, versus just going like overshooting and saying like, oh, I don't know where I'm at. Let's take 2 steps back and go back further and further and further till we reach that bell curve. But like that slow, like Cristian said, the incremental changes, giving it time, going after those variables, slow incremental adjustments will be able to reach you there.
For sure.
All right. Anything else on strategy?
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit what's working in 2025 as far as strategies go.
All right. So what's working? What do you think is working?
I think there was a point where personalization was good, and then it got creepy when they started saying like, "Oh, I know you went to this school," because they scraped your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah,
and so forth.
exactly.
But now personalization in the terms of, let's say I'm a marketing manager, right? And I have a need for to hire someone that does something specifically. Let's say a web developer.
Yeah.
If someone messages me and they're talking to my pain point, then I will be obviously more attentive to that message. I'll probably read it, probably reply to it. And I've had that happen a couple of times in the last month, where I'm like, oh, I actually was doing some research on that. And then I got a cold email from someone. And I'm like,
someone's tracking you.
How do I reverse engineer that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So definitely personalization and the level of knowing the pain points of your audience, and then you can personalize the message to that. That's definitely helpful.
All right.
So for example, let's say if someone starts a new job, that's a good way to personalize it. It's like, hey, I know you probably new on your position right now at company X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Some of the things that might help you are A, B, and C, and we could help you with that, right?
Yeah.
So going to that level, not being creepy about personal stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely going at things that really interests the audience. That helps a lot.
Yeah, because it's like you understand the target demographic, right? Mm-hmm. So if you know their pain points, you know some things that are top of mind, and some things that they're going to deal with. So like a new hire, hey, I know that you're a new hire. You probably got all these things being thrown at you. Here's a tool, a free tool that I think would be beneficial. And maybe it's from some like HR company that's like an organizational tool or a task template or something like that. Providing them with value. So understand the pain point, provide them something with value, and then wait from a time standpoint to see if they take action. Mm-hmm. What else is working? So besides the normal stuff, I'll say. Anything crazy that you've seen that works?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff with AI, definitely. AI is the center of it all in 2025.
Yep.
Every tool that we use right now has implemented some type of AI, either to help you understand or break down information and even analyze things.
Yeah.
So that's huge, right? If you can use that, for example, to take the list of your best customers, right? And then you can ask ChatGPT, how can I find more people like this?
Yeah.
Like, what are the similarities, right? What are the traits? So definitely using that in the research aspect of a strategy helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, with all the AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT or all their competitors, even using things like Clay to be able to scrape data, build lists, all that stuff, those systems and tools, I mean, they're just going to get better and better, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we've done a lot of work in it, and it's taught us a lot. It's saved us a lot of time. I feel like the stuff that we've done in the last 4 or 5 months, but it's taught us a lot of like, how do we want to refine stuff? And sometimes it helps, and sometimes you want to throw your computer at the wall, and it's like, why don't you just like, why can't you count how many words? Why can't you take my data that I gave you and I wanted you to organize it this way? Why can't you not bring in raw. I just dealt with that yesterday. I'm like, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I think it was yesterday. I'm like, I'm giving it information. I just want it to organize it this way quickly so I don't have to do it. And it's bringing in false information. And I'm like, why are you doing that? And the system's like, oh, I'm so sorry. So yeah, there could be a lot of frustrating points with it, but yeah, I think AI is definitely an area that people need to spend more time on. That is working. If you embrace it and use it strategically, it could be very beneficial. If you're just going to it like solve all my problems with little direction, then you're gonna get garbage out because that's what you put in. What else do you see in your weeklies that shocked you? Has anything shocked you so far this year? That's like, oh my god, I didn't think that would work that well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about content, right? Like SEO wise, there's one client of us that's just going, up and right in effectiveness. So I'm trying to reverse engineer, right? I talked to Andrew, our SEO specialist. We got to figure out why are they so successful? Is it because they're in a niche industry?
Yeah.
Is it because they have a proprietary product that they make?
Yeah.
And they have like the secret sauce, and then applying that to other clients. So sometimes you may be manufacturing a specific component for something, or you have a specific product you're building, or something you're selling that you're maybe reselling, and then you don't really think you have a secret sauce. But there's always something. Like for example, if you compound the people you have, like the experience you have, your name. Where you are, all of those things provide a level of expertise and kind of secret sauce, right? Where you're unique in that department.
Yep.
So I would say more in the age of AI, kind of bringing it down on a more human level, where you can show people who you are or who your team is and how they do things. It helps a lot because if you scroll down, right, for example, LinkedIn, you're gonna see a lot of B2B posts, right? And it's like
a lot of the same garbage.
Yeah, it's like a machine talking to a machine, right? But if you break it down, if you put like the owner's face in it, and your communication, if you use your language, how you would speak, I think that helps to break a little bit of the monotony that we see like on feeds and on emails coming in, where you want to put your personal touch.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the only thing I would add to that before we wrap up, because we're now at 49 minutes, because we're just bringing the fire today. The only thing I would add to that is less sometimes is more. So I have seen from a performance standpoint a reduction in frequency of things, specifically on social. It used to go down the path of the more that you post, the more content you create, the more it's going to come back and get engagement. We've seen over the last couple of months that if you reduce the quantity, and not even like less quantity, more quality, but if you just reduce the quantity and allow the system to keep up to date, because so many people are going the opposite and saying more, now that I've got all these AI tools, I can post 47 times a day, I can create 800 articles a month. But by doing a little bit less than everybody else, it's like when everybody else goes right, you need to go left to stand out. And that's something that shocked me so far in the first 6-7 weeks of data in 2025. It's not saying that something changed in 2025, but it's a trend that is starting to gain traction of less is more. So any other comments or questions before we wrap up? Last question.
Yep. So Tim here says, have you ever had a time where the data unexpectedly showed a change was needed ASAP?
Oh, so we hate those times. But yeah, I mean, we've seen it with PPC of where for some reason the ads were showing on.
Yeah,
we saw with us
YouTube Kids channels.
YouTube Kids channels. We were running. It was one of our campaigns, and we had 200,000 views or something like that on an ad. And it was on YouTube, and it was on like gambling stuff or something like that. Random third party stuff. So yeah, we've seen that. We've seen sites break. Mm-hmm. I broke a client site yesterday. Yeah. I mean, not completely broke it, but I broke it, and then Christian, because we share an office, Christian was like, "Yeah, I'll fix it for you."
Yeah, we see it on emails, right? Sometimes.
Oh yeah, yep.
There's emails that for some reason get blocked, and then we start seeing all those bounces, and we're like, whoa, we have to change ASAP,
Yep.
right? Depending on what the industry is or the provider they're using for email security. So yeah, we've seen it a lot, and we act on it.
Yeah, and you have to react quickly. I'd like to say that it doesn't happen daily, where it's like an emergency. We have to make an adjustment now, otherwise it's going to completely hinder the performance. But I would say out of all the clients that we deal with and the team here, I would say maybe once a month. Do you feel like
There's something to it.
there's something that is like I need action now? I would say probably once a month. Now if it's coming from me, I'm like, I want this change yesterday, just because I want the change, because I'm impatient and I want to see the new change happen. But as far as like from the client side or something that we see with marketing, it's maybe once a month it happens. Depends on whose hands are in there. If my hands are in there, I could break shit. That's just the nature of me, because I try and push those limits. But fortunately, I've got a team that works with me that can fix anything that I break pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a boss that's hands-on. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Depends on what my hands are on. If it's in an area that I have a lot of experience, then it's a good thing. But sometimes it's like, dude, people are probably thinking to themselves, why are you in there doing that? It's like, because hey, I got to practice what I preach. I can't sit here and say this is what's working with marketing, and neither could Cristian, if we weren't in there every day. Like if you think that the way that we operate here is management on the ops side, right? So like Cristian, Laura over video, Ann over as a COO over everybody. If we're just like directing people, like, no, do this, do that, then it's complete misrepresentation. We are like in the weeds. I was in a site yesterday and last week working on spam submissions for their form. I was in sites updating plugins. I'm in email systems adjusting copy. Like I'm in it, and that's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because if you just stay on top, then you're not.
It's fun, definitely. Yeah. Yesterday I was in coding a sub menu for a client.
There you go.
Today I'm creating sequences for us.
Yeah.
That we're gonna launch soon. And with that, trying the new tools that HubSpot has for dynamic sequences. So yeah, we're in it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to practice what you preach, and what's the phrase? Iron sharpens iron, right? Like if you're around people that are also in it and around people that are good, then you're just going to make yourselves better, and you have to continue to practice it, sharpen that axe, keep chopping down trees, and that's the way to do it. So we good to wrap up, Justin? All right, guys, that's it for this week. So if you guys like this format, me bringing in an expert from the team, be sure to share it, hit likes, comment, share with anybody that you know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think it's the third Tuesday of the month, we're going to bring somebody into the hot seat and have them come in here and answer some of your guys' questions. We will see you on the next one.
All right, thank you.